The party room sparkled with soft pink and white balloons, streamers curled at the ends like ribbons on a present, and a banner that read, "Happy 8th birthday, Emily," in gold glitter letters. The cake sat on a round table at the center, 3 layers tall, covered in delicate white icing with tiny butterflies dancing across the sides. It was the kind of cake every little girl dreamed of. It was beautiful, but it was also untouched. Emily sat in her wheelchair at the edge of the table, her small hands folded neatly in her lap. She had on a pastel purple dress, her favorite color, and her blonde hair was tied up in tiny pigtails with matching bows. Her eyes, though bright blue, were dull with quiet disappointment. Her father, Nathan Grant, a well-known CEO of a leading tech company, stood off to the side, checking his phone every few seconds. He'd rented out the entire family fun center for her party, everything from the indoor playground to the mini arcade, even a clown who now awkwardly rearranged balloon animals. But the space was empty, save for staff. The invitations had gone out 3 weeks ago. Fancy ones too, custom cards with confetti inside, delivered in shiny envelopes. He'd told his assistant to spare no expense. Still, no one had come. Maybe they didn't know Emily. She hadn't been in school long. Since the accident last year that had left her paralyzed from the waist down, she'd only recently started attending classes again. And even then, she mostly stayed quiet, kept to herself, and didn't always make eye contact. Or maybe it wasn't Emily at all. Maybe it was him. Other parents might have felt strange attending a party hosted by someone always seen on magazine covers, with security detail and a chauffeur in tow. Maybe they thought it would be too formal, too awkward. But none of that mattered to Emily. She just wanted someone, anyone, to show up. She kept glancing at the door every few minutes, the same hopeful flicker returning and then fading from her eyes. "Daddy," she said softly, not looking at him. "Do you think maybe they forgot?" Nathan's heart twisted in his chest. He walked over and knelt beside her. "Maybe something came up," he said gently. "People get busy, but it doesn't mean they don't like you." She nodded slowly. "Okay." He tried to smile, but inside, guilt gnawed at him. He was used to solving problems with money, with strategy, with power. But no amount of success could fix the look on his daughter's face. He had never felt so powerless. Just then, the door creaked open. A man entered, holding the hand of a little boy around the same age as Emily. They looked a bit out of place. The man wore a faded denim jacket and boots dusted with dirt. The boy clutched a wrapped present, messily covered in superhero paper. They both paused just inside the entrance, unsure if they were allowed in. Nathan stood up quickly. "Can I help you?" The man smiled awkwardly. "Hey, we were just here for the arcade. Didn't realize it was reserved." Nathan hesitated, then glanced at Emily. She had turned to look at the newcomers, her eyes curious. He looked back at the man. "It's my daughter's birthday," he said. "No one showed up. You're welcome to stay if you like." The man raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure? We don't want to crash a private thing." Emily spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. "You can come." The little boy smiled at her. "I'm Max." "I'm Emily," she replied. The man chuckled. "Well, I guess that settles it." He turned to Nathan. "I'm Jason, by the way. Just a regular dad trying to keep my kid entertained on a Saturday." Nathan nodded, motioning them in. "Thanks for staying." Jason guided Max over to the table, and Emily's face brightened for the first time that day. Max handed her the present. "I didn't know it was for a girl, so I wrapped it with my wrapping paper," he said apologetically. Emily laughed, a soft, musical laugh that Nathan hadn't heard in months. "I like superheroes." She tore open the paper carefully. Inside was a box of watercolor paints. "Mom used to paint," Max explained. "She said painting is like dreaming on paper." Emily looked at him with wide eyes. "My mom used to paint too." Jason smiled gently, but said nothing. Nathan watched the exchange quietly. He noticed how Jason sat down beside his son with ease, no need for formality, no layers of protection. There was something unpolished but warm about him, something real. Nathan realized he hadn't had a real conversation with another parent in years. Emily and Max chatted excitedly now, about school, cartoons, the candy prizes they liked at the arcade. Nathan and Jason moved to the side to give them space. You said no one came. Jason asked. Nathan nodded. Not a single kid. I don't think Emily understands why. Jason looked over at her. Kids are kinder than we give them credit for. It's usually the adults who complicate things. Nathan gave a sad smile. I wanted to give her everything. I thought, maybe if it looked perfect, she'd feel special. Jason shrugged. She doesn't need perfect. She just needs people. They sat quietly for a moment. You a single dad? Jason asked. Nathan hesitated, then nodded. Emily's mom passed away after the accident. Jason looked surprised. I'm sorry, man. That's rough. Nathan looked down. She was driving. They were hit by a truck. Emily survived. My wife didn't. Jason exhaled. I get it. My wife passed 2 years ago. Cancer. Max was 6. Nathan looked at him then. Really looked. There was something behind Jason's tired eyes that mirrored his own grief. They were both navigating the same storm, just in different boats. I tried everything, Nathan said. Therapy, tutors, special equipment. But she doesn't smile much anymore. She smiled today. Nathan followed his gaze. Emily and Max were laughing now, sharing a slice of cake. The clown returned, encouraged by the audience, and handed them balloon animals. Max asked for a dinosaur. Emily asked for a butterfly. Jason leaned back in his chair. You know, we're not too far from here. Max would love to hang out again. Emily seems cool. Nathan felt something loosen in his chest. That would be amazing. Later, as the staff began cleaning up, and the light outside started to dim, Nathan walked Emily out to the car. She was holding the watercolor set tightly in her lap. Did you have a good birthday? He asked, opening the car door. She nodded. It was the best one ever. He blinked, caught off guard. Really? She looked up at him. Max didn't care about my chair. He just talked to me like I was normal. Nathan felt emotion rise in his throat. You are normal, sweetheart. You're more than that. You're incredible. She smiled, then turned to look at the paint set again. Can we invite him to paint with me sometime? Of course, Nathan said, brushing her hair back gently. Anytime. That night, after Emily had gone to bed, Nathan sat in his study. The party decorations were still fresh in his mind, but so was something else, something more important. A stranger had stepped into their lives with no intention of doing anything heroic. He hadn't come with a gift bag or RSVP. He came simply because he was there. And when given the choice, he said, "Can we join you?" It was such a simple question. Yet it had changed everything. Nathan opened his laptop and wrote an email to Emily's school. He asked about parent meetups, playdates, and how to get more involved. He realized for the first time that maybe people weren't ignoring Emily. They just didn't know how to connect. Maybe it was his own fear, his isolation, that had kept them distant. Maybe what Emily needed wasn't a bigger cake or better decorations. Maybe she just needed someone willing to sit beside her. A few days later, Jason and Max came over for a painting afternoon. The kids made a mess of the floor, paintbrushes everywhere, laughter echoing off the walls. Jason brought sandwiches, and Nathan made coffee. They talked for hours. About parenting, about grief, about healing. As the weeks passed, more kids started joining them. One mother reached out after seeing photos online. Then another. Soon Emily had her own little circle of friends. Kids who came not because the party was grand, but because they wanted to be there. Because one father, one kind stranger, had decided to include her when no one else did. And every time Emily saw Max, she smiled like the sun had come out. Because kindness, no matter how small, always finds a way to bloom. And because sometimes, all it takes to change a life is the courage to ask, "Can we join you?"